Now, all of us, we all love a good conversion story. But what about what comes after? Now, what is the real test of faith isn't the moment you say yes, but all the years that you spend living that yes, day after day, and very often without recognition or applause. Now, St. Stein, she found truth in the pages of a Carmelite nun's autobiography. It changed her life. But she didn't run off to a convent the very next day. Her conversion wasn't the end of the road. It was the beginning of years filled with sacrifice and detours. So today, with my trusted magnifying glass, we are going to look at the bold decisions she made after her conversion when Edith chose to follow our Lord, even when it cost her more than she could have ever expected. It all started the night she closed that book and said, "This is the truth." Something awakened in Edith's soul. She later admitted it was no coincidence that the autobiography of the great Saint Teresa of Avila landed in her hands. And after reading that book, she felt called to a contemplative life. So she gave up her worldly ambitions and began living as much as she could like a Carmelite, as also much as her circumstances would allow. But God didn't open the doors to the Carmelite monastery right away. And we all know He rarely does things in a rush. In fact, the groundwork of her conversion has started earlier, long before she even picked up that book. So one particular occasion that stands out is when a friend of hers took her to visit the Cathedral of Frankfurt. I can imagine what it must have been for a young Jewish woman in a Catholic cathedral. And while she was there, she saw a woman enter with her shopping basket all full of groceries, kneel and say a short prayer. This was something totally new to me, she would later say. In the synagogues and Protestant churches I had visited, people simply went to the services. Here, however, was someone coming straight from the busy marketplace into this empty church, as if she was going to have an intimate conversation. It was something that I never forgot. An anonymous woman's visit to the Blessed Sacrament. Probably, you could say it's some routine gesture for that lady, but it stirred in Edith a great longing for a similar intimacy with God. Now, if this anonymous woman could speak with God so freely, just seconds after leaving behind the noisy city outside, then couldn't she herself hope for something similar, the same? Edith later on returned to her hometown shortly after her conversion to visit her mother. She gently but firmly told her mother, "Mama, I've become a Catholic." Now tears welled up in Frau Augusta's eyes, and soon after, also in the eyes of Edith. And the silence that followed was heavier than words. In that moment, they both knew that a line had been drawn. Her mother never again responded to Edith's letters. Only once did she send a small note, brief, distant, and final. Edith knew it would cost her something, and she never regretted telling the truth. Later, she would write, "What was not included in my plans lay in God's plan." And with that trust, she let go of what she thought her life would look like. Still, that didn't mean things got easier. Her conversion wasn't only about what she had to leave behind, but also about the slow, uncertain steps that lay ahead. As much as she longed to disappear into the silence of a cloister, that door remained closed, at least for now. Her spiritual director, Monsignor Schruwend, believed that her gifts were needed in the world. So Edith began to teach at a Catholic little school in Spira. It wasn't what she had dreamed of, but she obeyed. And it's where she chose to be faithful. To most, she was known as Fraulein Doctor, the brooding philosopher. She was fluent in 6 languages, translator of St. Thomas Aquinas, and a former assistant to the famous professor Edmund Husserl. But those who looked closer saw something more. She didn't wear a habit, but she lived as if she did. And she took private vows of poverty, chastity, and obedience. She prayed deeply, taught with humility, and formed her students, not just in the academics, but above all in faith. She didn't preach, we say, from the front of the classroom. She lived her mission from the last pew of the chapel and carried it out through an authentic life of piety. She offered not just her intellect, but her whole heart to God. She spent long hours before the Blessed Sacrament, the silence that allows the soul to listen. Her prayer life was centered on a profound and sincere devotion to the Sacred Hearts of Jesus and Mary. Her students didn't just learn grammar or philosophy. They saw what it looked like when someone gave everything to our Lord Jesus Christ. Between the years of 1928 and 1933, on the initiative of a respected priest, she traveled across Europe, giving lectures on the role of women in the church and society. And her motto? The Blessed Virgin Mary. This quiet and steady faithfulness shaped her path to holiness, to sainthood. In the year 1932, she was appointed chair of anthropology at the German Institute for Scientific Pedagogy in the city of Münster. It was a huge honor. But the world was changing. The evil winds of Nazism were blowing louder. And Edith, despite all of her qualifications, her intelligence and impact, she was dismissed from her post because of her Jewish ancestry. You can imagine she had every reason to be bitter, but yet she still waited because she understood something that, unfortunately, we often forget. Truth isn't something you follow only when it's easy or convenient. And now, most people think saints are forged by inducing grand miracles. But in reality, they're made in the waiting rooms, in this slow, quiet abandonment that no one sees. It's about how you carry the cross in that silence. For Edith, the years between her baptism and her entrance into Carmel weren't delay. They in reality were preparation, a hidden training ground, you could say. So what happened when she was finally received into Carmel? Well, we're going to get to that soon. First, let's turn the magnifying glass away from looking forward. Let's turn it into our own lives. Maybe today you feel delayed or hidden. Maybe things haven't gone your way, the way you expected things to go. But Edith's story reminds us, holiness doesn't begin in the spotlight. It begins in the silence, in the small unseen moments of faithfulness. You don't have to wait for the perfect circumstances to live fully for God. You can start right now, because in the silence is where the saints are made. Real transformation rarely looks impressive. God will often lead us to detours that, so to say, can refine us. Maybe this part of your journey feels like a detour. Maybe it's not a detour at all. Maybe it's a preparation. So, if you're struggling to trust the process, turn to our Blessed Mother. She too walked a hidden path. She said yes without applauses, without certainty, and she remained faithful all the way to the cross. Now, if you haven't already, I'm going to invite you to begin making your consecration to our Blessed Mother. And that way you won't walk alone. When you walk the unsure path with our Blessed Mother, she will lead you exactly to where you need to be. I'll leave, for all those of you that haven't made your consecration yet, a description, a link below to the free consecration. Don't wait. Click on that link and start today, and you will see how it transforms your life. So, if God's asking you to be faithful in the quiet and unknown, don't underestimate what He's doing there. Maybe you're not where you thought you'd be. Maybe the doors haven't opened yet, but that doesn't mean He's forgotten you. It might just mean He's forming and preparing you. When the doors to the Carmel finally opened for St. Edith, she entered just as darkness was falling all over Europe. What happens when a Jewish Carmelite nun faces the terror of the Nazi regime? Did she escape? Or did she embrace something even greater? Join me in the next video as we follow Edith behind the wall of the cloister into the heart of the storm. So, my time is up. Hope to see you in the next video. God bless and Salve Maria.